As most people know, shooting on a low budget, the main problem isn't money, it's time. And we could afford to shoot for 8 days and not a lot more than that. So when doing the shot list, we decided very early on that, once we'd light a room, we would stay in that room and film everything in that room throughout the whole film. So because 90% of the film takes place in this house, that meant we were jumping around in time quite a bit, which made Jeff, the costume designer's job, really difficult, because we'd be jumping from like scene 80 back to scene 10 because the lighting setup dictated that was the quickest turnaround. And obviously that was quite stressful for the actors as well.
From an actor's point of view, you don't really have any rehearsal time. You're almost expected to just turn up ready to bring it to the table, knowing what you're doing, knowing where the character is in that scene and the journey that they've been through. So it's very, you're on your feet, you're on your toes. But equally, that's really good, because I think, I like that style anyway, because it means you can be more instinctive. You have to be more instinctive, and you have to be spontaneous, because you've got no time really to overthink things.
Little Monster is probably the least gory of all of my films, but even so, anytime you're dealing with special effects, things can go wrong, understandably. Having had pre-production meetings with all heads of departments, we stressed to all heads of departments how important it was to prepare and to practice. Some of those effects were pulled off and looked really good on camera. I'm still really impressed by the initial bite that Wynn receives in the car, and the broken glass in the hand as well. I think really holds up, which Ian, Matthew Batt's character, kind of suffers. One unfortunate effect, which was scheduled for the very last day, which was a very stressful day, as you can imagine, because we were trying to make sure we had everything in the can before people left and never returned, was the throat slit.
Not a lot of planning was able to go into that particular practical effect, which causes some issues, which can happen. But, being experienced filmmakers, we were able to kind of plan for that even on the day of the shoot. So we shot a lot of clean shots without any practical effects, and we were able to save it in post, thankfully.
Tom knew a guy who he'd worked with a number of times called Tony Rowlands, who was a VFX artist. We had a chat with him, and Tony was able to pull a rabbit out of the hat, basically, by doing this amazing effect, which, having seen on a larger screen, I still don't think is actually VFX. Post-production on Little Monster lasted pretty much a year, which I think surprised us all, actually. In between the blocks, I was kind of assembling rough stuff together. But I think a lot of it was to do with how unhappy we were with certain makeup effects and kind of cutting around a lot of that. There was a cut of the throat slashing scene where we cut to a close-up, so we didn't actually see the blood leave the wound. But it just telegraphed it way too much, and that's absolutely not what we wanted to achieve with that shot or with that scene. So we worked on it a bit before then, kind of approaching Tony, who sorted us out with VFX. And then thankfully when Tony kind of came back and churned out something which was absolutely fantastic, it was full steam ahead again. And then we were lucky enough that the Fractured Visions guys and the Cardiff Independent Film Festival asked us if they could do the world premiere of Little Monster. So that really kind of helped us, give us a kick up the arse basically and get the film finished. The plan from the very conception of Little Monster was that we were going to push it ourselves. We weren't going to seek traditional routes of distribution. And when you do that, obviously, with traditional routes of distribution, they've also got their own marketing and their PR working overtime. And my experience with both of those has been, although it's been nice to see full-page adverts in, horror magazines of the cover of your latest DVD, for me, there was no real evidence that actually led to any sort of DVD sales.
The big issue for independent filmmakers distributing their own film is creating the platform, being able to reach enough people to sell the film. By going it alone, you're cutting out a lot of men in the middle, which works out for you financially, but makes it a lot difficult in terms of getting the film out there and the PR and, getting it on shelves in the likes of Asda's or Tesco's or whatever. So we've thought long and hard about distribution, self-distribution. There are ways forward, there are avenues to take, but it's going to be a learning curve for us going forward, and we just hope enough people enjoy independent cinema enough to enable us to put the money we get from Little Monster back into the next project, because that's all we're doing is recycling the money, really.
It was really important to me and both James that we made sure people were getting paid for this. So really, you know, this sort of money is going, it's like a snowball, you know, the more we make, the more we can give back effectively.
A lot of the time when you're doing more traditional routes of PR and everything like that, you're at the whim of whatever the magazine or whatever the website wants to ask you. And a lot of the time it's copy and pasted from the press release, and that was kind of a disheartening experience, especially when our first film came out. A number of times they, instead of writing anything original, they literally copy and pasted our press release, and that was it. And you know, some people got paid for that. So rather than kind of seeking that, what we've decided to do is that we're going to push it. We're creating our own audience for it, and through methods like the vlog and the Mad Science Films page, we've got, you know, regular viewership. Within the first few days of launching a vlog, we get 200 views straight out the bat, which is good, and those are dedicated views. I mean, for us, basically, I'd be really happy if we managed to get just 1,000 hardcore fans. We're a long way away from that, but we're getting there. And again, that's kind of going to be our final goal, is to get those 1,000 fans who will follow us on our little journey of, you know, whatever we decide to put out there.